The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning all. Welcome to the Advisor webinar today. It's great to have so many people joining us as we think about how to connect with customers and how customers are searching for brokers. It's amazing to think, isn't it, as we start this year and as we rapidly accelerate through this year. I heard this morning we're 7 months away from 2020. 7 months away from 2020. That seems awfully close for what is a milestone year. I remember being young, thinking 2020 seemed forever away, but it's not. It's 7 months away now. My name's Andy Jamison, the CEO and founder of Advisr, and it's great to have so many people joining us today as we kick off to think about how people search for and find and connect with insurance brokers. A little bit of background on me for those that don't know it. I've got 20 years experience in digital marketing, generating hundreds of millions of dollars in gross written premium and finance business. And I've done that through a very successful agency that I founded and ran called Switch On Media. Today we're going to do three things together. We're going to spend our time together looking at three different areas. The first one is we're going to look at how customers research before purchase and some of the behaviours that are going on there. We'll look at some of the old ways of doing business and the new ways of doing business in our rapidly accelerating and digital world that we live in. And thirdly, we'll talk through some minimum requirements for doing business in 2019. And this is particularly relevant as we get towards the end of this financial year and thinking about how you set yourself up for success in the next financial year. It's great to have so many people joining us today for this webinar. There's lots of ways that you can engage during our time together. Feel free to ask a question at any stage, and you can do that via typing an inquiry into the box available for you. Otherwise, you can follow up with me directly afterwards as you want or have need, or if there's anything along the way, feel free to drop me an email to andy@advisr.com.au. So what is Advisr? I'll just give you a brief overview of that and why did I seek to build that, just as we have even more people joining us on our webinar this morning. Thanks for joining. Advisr is a platform business. It's a platform model where we want to make it really easy for customers, business customers, to find and connect with an insurance broker they can trust. And some of the changes that we'll talk about in the way that customers are looking for brokers illuminate why Advisr is needed and why Advisr is working. We're rapidly growing. We've got thousands and thousands of customers coming all the time, and we'd love to work with great brokers to continue to highlight them into the market. All right, so without further ado, let's get underway. So a few things that we're going to cover off today. So we're starting now. We'll have copies of the presentation going out afterwards, and we'll send those out to you, and we'll follow up as well to seek any feedback. Those three areas again: what are customers researching before buying, and what are some of their behaviours that we're seeing and that we see customers undertaking. Secondly, the old ways and new ways of thinking about business, and hopefully some thought starters there for where you can start to engage with this new digital customer. And thirdly, the minimum requirements for 2019, as I said. Your customer's world is changing very quickly. And the minimum requirements really are changing. And so I just wonder how we're keeping up and how we're really accelerating into that space and meeting our customers where they're at and giving them what they're looking for. So customer research is changing, what customers are doing. And we know this, don't we? Because we see it and we feel it ourselves as customers. Customers these days do more research than ever. The availability of information is excessive. There is an awful amount of information that people can find out there. And so customers naturally do more research because the research helps them to become educated, which is a good thing. And as they're more educated, that means that the information that we share with them or that you share with your customers can be cross-checked easily. And so making sure that the information you're sharing is accurate is very important because your customer is now more educated than ever. The third thing is to look at customers are really looking for validation when they're doing research. They become educated, they find the information, they make informed decisions. And so a tactic to think about is, as your customer is researching, is to think about guidance and validation of their knowledge as a key approach for how you engage with them, helping customers to know that you understand and value the work that they've put in to become educated. And when you guide and validate, that helps them to feel empowered as well, often leading to a greater sense of trust and engagement. The fourth one is customers these days are really looking for uniqueness. They want products and services to match them specifically. So understanding and articulating their uniqueness back to them is critical. Making sure that you reflect the policies and the information and advice that you're giving to match their specific needs. Off-the-shelf products is not necessarily what a customer is looking for. Although they may end up buying that, they want to know that that product really matches and aligns with them. They value their uniqueness. And so pushing into that for your customers is really important. And so some questions to ask are, how are you actively becoming part of your customer research phase? Are you aware of this? Are you thinking about the information that they're seeking and being a voice that connects with them at that point in time? Right now, it's super interesting to see that customers, and all of us do this, and this is more of a retail example, but I think it applies specifically into the professional service environment as well, are undertaking this behavior that we call the robo behavior: research online, buy offline. 50% of people will research online before purchase, looking to see whether the product that they're finding is what they're really looking for, and to get information and educated, as we just talked about. And so this becomes really interesting when you think about that 50% of people that are buying online or researching online before purchase. The question is, when someone says, my business is all referrals or offline referrals, is that really true? Or I don't need to worry about online. I wonder whether that's still valid, because we see customers turning online to do that. And they turn online predominantly when they've heard through word of mouth. They might go to your website. They might go back online to validate later as well. This robo behavior is radically changing how we all consume and look to purchase. In addition to that, once someone's found the product that they're looking for, what we actually find now is that 82% of people do a final check online before purchase. 82%, 4 out of 5 people will do a final check. So even at the point where you've engaged with a customer, you spent time with them, you've given them a product, they're assessing that and thinking about it, what is that customer doing at that point? Well, they're doing this final check online, this last minute check. And we see that, don't we, as customers in a retail sense. If you go into any shop, you see customers that will have a product in their hand and their phone in their other hand, doing that last minute check. And I think that is translating into the digital and into the insurance world as well, as customers can now look at the products and the proposals that we're putting in front of them and work out, am I really covered? And does this give me everything that I need? But why is a customer doing this? Well, there's 2 key reasons, I think. One is that they're aiming to minimize post-purchase dissonance. That's that feeling you get after you buy something and think, did I really buy the right thing, or should I have got something else? Well, the second thing is they're looking to reinforce that they're making a good or smart or better decision. Again, making sure that we make our customers the hero is the key here. Making sure that their decisions, that they're empowered and that they're making informed decisions. That helps to close sales, move them across the line. And so what can you do with this kind of 82% of people doing a final check online before purchase? Well, there's a couple of things I think you need to think about. One is to think about how we can avoid last minute switching, diversions, or people being sidetracked. So are you actively putting forward ways or proposals or ideas about how your product or the solution you put in front of them is a better solution than the alternates they might find? And are you sharing that with them at that point in time? Secondly, you could also reinforce their desire to purchase. At this stage, when a customer is doing this final check, the customer is heavily invested. So the question is, what's the last tap or that last little push that they need to get across the line? And can you think about how you share that information with them to give them the information, encourage them to do that extra research so that it validates your product? This behavior that we see is a purchase-seeking behavior, and so you want to encourage people to do it. A third tactic, or something you could think about, is to think about, is there a discount or an offer or an extra motivation that can close that person at that point in time? Is there something of value that you can give them that moves them through this phase so that they're not distracted, so that they don't become diverted or switch? And then the fourth thing could be to think about timeliness to complete. Can you add value to the customer that is low cost for you to deliver but high value in their mind? And that could be an extra piece of insight or something about their business or their industry, or another piece of information that just shows that you're different and that you're engaged and that you care for them. At this point as well, you probably also need to think about competitive pricing alternatives. Can you defend your pricing through value statements and your positioning? And how are you going to do that to make sure that the customers really know when they're doing this final check that they are getting good product from you at a good price, or that the value is there that makes the premium price worthwhile in their mind? A reminder, at any stage, if anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to add those into our discussion today. Let's jump into what we're seeing in Google. Here you can see some data, and this is searches for the term insurance broker over the last 4 years, 2015, 2017, 2019. What is interesting here with this data is that searches for this term are up 50%. So what this tells us is more customers are turning to Google to find an insurance broker, and they don't know where to find one or which one to use at this point in time. So the customer is market ready, they're looking for an insurance broker, but they're yet to make a choice around which professional to engage with. Interesting to see that growth of 50% as well, and we see that continuing into the future. Another piece of information, and here we're looking again at some Google search information around volume of people that are searching, and here it's around the search term business insurance, a key term that customers will look for. There's two columns. The light blue one is searches undertaken on a desktop, and the dark blue one is searches undertaken on a mobile device. What we can see here, again, from 2015 to 2019, is the massive increase of searches for business insurance that have occurred via a mobile device. You can see we've had a 50% increase in 2017 versus 2015 in the dark blue columns, and a 22% increase in 2019 versus 2017. So what does this tell us? Well, this tells us that customers are using their mobile devices for business-related searches. Now, that shouldn't be revolutionary in thought, but it's interesting to see the change and the growth in that over the last 4 years. So why do we think this is? And what do you need to consider? Well, if your customers are using their mobile device to search for business insurance, then we need to think about having mobile-friendly websites, don't we? And things that make it super easy for that customer at that point in time to engage with us in the way that they're seeking to do so. Secondly, you need to think about mobile-friendly content. And we see that the importance of having content that is short, that is easily digestible on a mobile device for someone. And so as we're thinking about our forms, and as we're thinking about usage, and as we're thinking about all of the ways that we build our digital products, we need to be cognizant that our customers now are using their mobile device more than ever to search for business insurance. It's an interesting trend, and one that we see across the board. Another interesting thing to think about is the rise of ratings and reviews. And we've seen this over the last few years. What's interesting here, and here you can see a Google search result for the term QBE business insurance reviews. What we can see in this search result is we can see those star ratings starting to come through, being used and incorporated by Google. And this has been prevalent in consumer products for a little while, and is now moving more into the professional service space and business products and the like. We're all very comfortable, if we think about our own consumer behavior, when we look at a hotel or a restaurant or a product, to think about the consumer rating and to seek some ratings and reviews from people. This is the bottom half of that search result. So the same search query in Google, QBE business insurance reviews. And here you can see more ratings and reviews being incorporated by Google. Now, what is super interesting to me as someone who's done digital marketing for 20 years and thought lots about customer acquisition, is that Google are dedicating critical space to ratings and reviews. If we look at each of these search results, there's 4 to 5 lines of information that are being shown. One of those lines is being taken up with ratings and reviews. Now, here we have the most sophisticated technology company in the world who understands a significant amount of customer information and how customers use their data and are looking to engage with their product, dedicating 20% of their search results to ratings and reviews and incorporating that more and more. We need to think about that, don't we? And be aware of what our customers are using and looking for. So what should you be targeting or owning in Google as you think about this? And again, our question today is, how are customers searching for and finding an insurance broker that they're looking for? We think about it in a few key ways, and we've got lots of data that helps us to know that this is what customers are doing. One, you need to really dominate your name. And here you can see we've chosen a broker, Abby Wilson, and her name. You want to be Googling yourself often as a broker and seeing what comes back, because that's what your customers were doing. And we know that because we get lots of traffic around broker names coming through to Advisr. Secondly, you want to own your company name, your brokerage. Here, Austbrokers Countrywide as an example. And again, you want to be Googling that often so you can see what customers are seeing and so that you stay across some of the changes that are occurring. Thirdly, you want to think about your location. Sometimes someone will look for an insurance broker but won't know who to turn to just yet, and they're looking for that local help. So insurance broker in, and then insert your suburb or location or region, and just see what comes back and how could you participate in that and add value to the customer at that point in time. Fourthly, thinking about the insurance lines and specializations that you may offer. Very competitive terms would be around cyber insurance broker or startup insurance, or some of those broader terms like business pack. The question is, could you go beyond that and think like a customer to think about how you're solving a problem in their mind? And so what we encourage brokers to do and what we work with brokers on is creating great content that is more focused, slightly longer in nature, and therefore able to target those people that are looking specifically for that. So for example, asking a question like, what is cyber business insurance or cyber insurance? Or how do I protect my farm? Or how do I think about whatever it might be? And the aim here is really to be relevant across all stages of your customer's journey. So key summary of what customers are doing in their research before buying phase, the first of our three things that we'll cover off today. We see this 50% of people search for information before heading in store, that robo activity. Think about that for your business. 82% of people conducting that final check. That's a huge behavior or a huge opportunity and risk in your business, and you need to help customers to navigate that well. Thirdly, customers are doing more research than ever. They are informed, they are educated, and they will check and cross-check what you're saying to them. Fourthly, we've seen a huge growth in mobile search, in particular around business-related terms in the last 4 years. We see that trend continuing, and therefore we need to think about how you package up information to meet customers within that mobile environment. And fifthly, we see Google, the #1 search engine in the world and way that people find information, are incorporating ratings and reviews into their search result. They see the value of these for the customer and therefore have built it into their product offering and their product suite. So as businesses, we need to be thinking about that as well and thinking, how do we give customers what they need so that they can make good, informed decisions? So moving on to our second area to discuss today. Again, any questions, feel free to pop them in to the box and we will get answers to you there, or we can follow up later as needed. Again, welcome everyone to our presentation today. The slides will all come through at the end, so no need to be madly scrambling or scribbling it all down. We'll share all of that with you. So the old ways and the new ways of driving business, moving on to our second area to talk about. Some data here taken from Macquarie, from one of their insights papers that they've recently released. What we see is this shift in business owners into the millennials space. And what we know about millennials is that they're highly digitally savvy. They use digital for everything and they have very high expectations around that. So we have 1 in 5 Australian small businesses now owned by millennials. And 1 in 4 of those only operate online. So that's the way our customers are running their business. And we need to think about how we connect with them in ways that work for them and how they expect that to happen, particularly in the insurance space. So the old way of driving business is all about me. And we see a little bit of this from time to time still in the broking space. And this is where the opportunity for those digitally savvy and forward-thinking brokers to change that up is really an opportunity. So we see a customer becomes prompted. We want them to find my details. We want them to connect with me. We want them to fill in the forms that we want them to do, and then we'll close the business. Now, the problem with this way of doing business is that it's all about me. It's not really about my customer. The information's all about me. The phone number is the primary point of contact, and the customer may use 1 or 2 channels for connecting, but that's all. We see that we don't need to advertise. It's all referrals, and it's very linear and transactional in nature. And we see this through the idea of requesting a callback, or I'll get back to you when I have time to engage. The world's changing, and I think we need to keep up with what our customers are looking for. And so some new ways to consider, instead of this linear approach, is to approach it in a different way. And there's lots of information on this slide, so let me explain it briefly. This is some ways to make your business all about the customer. There's 3 different colors that we're using here. The green one represents some content marketing ideas or ways that you could start on that. The blue one are places where you can reach out to customers, going where they are rather than expecting them to come to where you are. And the yellow is some ideas of areas to promote and syndicate. And you'll notice that none of these areas in the yellow one are product centric, as in talking about the actual product we sell. So let's jump into a bit more detail. The blue one, it's a ticket to play these days to have a great website. You just need that to be the case. And in particular, it needs to be very friendly on a mobile device due to that increase in mobile usage. You need to be creating great advertising and compelling advertising to reach customers. And you need to be going where they are, onto all the social channels, the business ones, the consumer ones, the deep verticals like Advisr. The yellow, if we jump into that, these are some ideas where you could think about how do you promote your business or talk about it, because sometimes that can be tricky, can't it? Well, some things that customers are really looking for these days could be around payment methods. Down in the bottom right, you'll see that. It could be worthwhile just even talking to your customers through your advertising and promoting on your website your payment methods and being upfront about that as a way that could work really well for customers, be that pay by the month, or be that other mechanics. In the retail space, we've seen a huge uplift in afterpay and options around that, really changing how consumers are buying. The second thing's in that yellow area could be to think about how you're creating and building trust mechanics. How do you let customers know that you're trustworthy? Saying you're trustworthy is one thing, but everyone says they're trustworthy. So the question is, how do you build trust mechanics? And this goes to the heart of those ratings and reviews that Google are using and incorporating into their search results as a part of their business. In addition to that, going further, have you built into your business the ability to ask existing customers to leave reviews for you? Is that part of your process? And if it's not, you need to think about why that's the case. Some people don't want reviews, and my question would be, in a world of radical transparency and in a world where customers are looking for that, what's the cost of that position? So this approach is all about the customer. And what is also interesting about it is that it's not a linear approach. It's actually a web approach. You can jump in at any point. You could say, you know what, we're just going to try 1 or 2 of these things. We're just going to talk about our payment methods, or we're going to talk about how we reward customer loyalty, and we're going to focus on that. Or maybe you want to go where your customers are and you think, we'll just start in one of the major social channels or one of the deep verticals, and we'll really go hard at having a good, strong presence there. It's a different way of thinking about it rather than saying we sell just cyber insurance or we sell just this. Flipping it around to think how the customer might be looking for and wanting to engage. So what are we seeing on Advisr? Well, one interesting trend that we're seeing is that customers are changing in how they're connecting, and they want to connect and have conversations with brokers about their insurance through many different channels. Often we'll see that a conversation will start in one channel and move to another and then flip around again to the third or fourth. So it's no longer just phone or email that you need to be cognizant of or be able to deal with. You need to manage that customer as they transition through the different ways that they want to engage with you, be that through the phone or an email form or what have you. We will see people come through Advisr saying, I gave you a call today, but I wanted to follow up, or here's some more information for you that we wanted to share. So 3 types of customers that we're seeing. New customers. New customers on Advisr really gravitate to good profile photos. There is so much value in a good photo. We all know that intrinsically, and yet sometimes we just don't get there to make sure that we actually have good professional photos. Let me encourage you to do that. We also see that Advisr helps to enhance referral business. We have lots of leads that flow through our platform, which start with XYZ said I should get in touch with you. And so I am, and I'd love you to help me with this and this and this. The value of referral businesses is high. The question is, how are people finding you in a referral-based world? Well, they're using places like Advisr to do that. We also know that people value speedy responses. A digital world, everything feels instant, doesn't it? And so we need to be quick in how we get back. And even if that's saying, yes, I'd love to talk further, or yes, we can do that for you, or yes, here's the next step to take. We need to make sure that we're guiding people in this speedy and fast response world. What we see as well with existing customers is existing customers often follow key contacts to new roles as people move around. And we see that and we know that, don't we? Because people do business with people. Now, we're not encouraging you to solicit your old customers. That's not the intention here. What we're saying is that customers will follow you to your new roles. And so you need to be aware of that. We see that customers are providing updates via Advisr. We have people providing information around claims, renewals, and even asking to cancel via Advisr. And also we see customers who will leave reviews when asked. They just need a prompt or a reason or a motivation to do that. So moving into the not yet customers bucket. Here we see through Advisr, and we've seen this with our stats, is that customer brokers and broker profiles with customer reviews generate 25 times more customer views than profiles without. And we know that, don't we? Customers want to know what it's like to work with someone. And so they seek those reviews out and they look for those profiles with them and they want to engage. We know that customers want to consume content, particularly when it's interesting and relevant to them and helps them to solve a problem. We know that they're open to asking questions and seeking feedback before they engage in public environments. And we'll see that more and more with millennials coming through as business owners who are very happy to ask open questions. And we know also that they're looking for that one-to-one engagement. Most of the leads that flow through Advisr, the inquiries to brokers, only get sent to one broker. We don't farm them out to lots of brokers. They just go one-to-one. People find the person they want to do business with and they seek to engage. So what's the summary of this old ways, new way of thinking about business, particularly as we look to connect with customers in a dynamic environment? Let me encourage you to go to the customer. We can't expect customers to come to us anymore. We can't just hang our shingle out there and hope that people will turn up and jump through the hoops that we put in front of them. We've got to go to them and we've got to speak their language. We've got to be okay with having conversations across multiple channels. And I think that'll only continue to fragment. And there's some complexity there, but also some opportunity. We know that existing customers will reach you however they want, whenever they want, and we need to be responsive. We know also that radical transparency is key and is an essential and is required in this modern world. And we also know that there's no clear entry point for customer engagement, and that's that web approach versus the linear or funnel approach that people have talked about historically. And so question would be, how are you going to where the customer is? Are you reaching out to them in their environments? And are you able to manage those conversations across multiple channels? Think about some of those areas. So moving on to our third and final area for today as we move through this, thinking about how people search for and find and connect with insurance brokers. Here's a quote from iResearch Services. They talk about the need for people to fully commit to online if they want to have a hope of surviving in this modern world. And we feel that, we know that, don't we? That we need to fully commit. So the question would be, what does it mean to fully commit? Well, let's have a think in a little bit more detail about how your customers use search. And in particular, there's a few key areas that people will search for you in non-traditional ways. Search these days is broader than just Google. It also goes into LinkedIn, Facebook, and platforms like Advisr. And so you need to think about how you're optimizing your content and your brand and your profiles to make sure that you're prominent within those areas. Because we know that people do business with people. And so as business owners or as brokers in a business, you want to understand that you need to be highlighted everywhere and your staff need to be seen everywhere. Your staff are your key business asset. So you need to have great profiles in all major channels. Here you can see the Google local business listings for Austbrokers countrywide. It's a great listing there. What we know about Google is that they're incredibly good at bringing together information. Their information is rich and they're algorithmically strong in how they return that information to people at the right time. What's really interesting as well is that they're bringing in more of these reviews. And here you can see reviews from the web, from Facebook, and also reviews from Advisr starting to be incorporated. We know that local business listings in Google are free for now. I wonder how long that will be the case, or when they'll move into their advertising platform and require more advertising budget to promote those. Secondly, looking at LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a business-focused audience, and it has a huge, broad business-focused audience. So I see lots of brokers doing lots of activity here, and I think it's really great. It's a strong business platform. One of the challenges with LinkedIn is that it's hyper-competitive. It is difficult to stand out, and often we can feel as businesses or as marketers that we produce lots of great content, but we just don't get the traction that we're looking for. And I wonder if that goes to one of the hearts of what is LinkedIn, or what's its point of being. And I think that's because it's part recruitment and part client acquisition in regards to what the platform actually does. But one of the key ways to succeed in LinkedIn is to keep producing that frequent content that is highly targeted. If you're adding value to people in ways that is highly targeted, you will grow over time. Some challenges with LinkedIn is that it can be expensive, very expensive, between $5 and $20 cost per click, even up to higher numbers than that. And that means if you want to promote a post or share it or syndicate it more broadly, you pay a lot to get that content in front of people. And that's why LinkedIn's such a big, successful business. I guess they can do that. Thirdly, Facebook. I'd encourage you to think about how you engage well on Facebook. It has a large domestic audience. And one of the key things with Facebook is to find the right targeted groups. We see lots of activity around business groups and startup groups and the like, where brokers engage, and lots of people are asking those questions, and there are some active brokers doing well at picking up some business out of that. I actually think the best opportunity with Facebook is to focus on that socially aware content, making sure that you're telling the stories, the stories that connect with the heart and the head through this channel, so that your staff can be promoted, they can promote where they work, and they can share some great content. You need to be aware, though, that what people are really looking for in this channel is probably not to find an insurance broker all the time. They're probably more interested in some of that personal interaction with friends and their network. Paid marketing can be expensive, and we know from 20 years of doing digital marketing, from my experience, that it can be ineffective at times. So you need to be careful with your budgets here as well if you are going to go down that track. But think about slightly different content that could be useful here. People will use Facebook to search for you as an individual and as a company. And so you need to make sure that you're across both of those. Remember that last minute check that people do. If you're a broker, then they may use Facebook to see what you're really like and to seek a little bit more information. And fourthly, looking at Advisr. So Advisr is a targeted platform. We are singular in our purpose. We want people to come to our platform and to find an insurance broker that they can trust and to connect with them in whatever way they want, through the phone, through an email, or through our web forms. We focus across all the different insurance lines: cyber insurance, farm insurance, commercial property insurance, and the like. We also enable brokers to highlight their own specialty services, for example, coffee cart insurance or some specialty that we haven't thought of. And we want to do that because we know that's what customers are looking for. And customers will look in the unique ways that you talk about your business in the same kind of way. We also know that location-based is really important and highly relevant to customers. And so making sure that you appear in those location pages is really important. And we've recently just rolled out, I think it's about 100 or 150 location pages, and you can find them through the navigation on Advisr, or reach out and we can point you to those. But you want to make sure that you're showing on the right location pages as well as people look for you. Another thing to think about in 2019 of how to do business is to realize that customer sentiment isn't always with you. And the key thing to acknowledge here is that you need to realize that and be aware of it and understand how we can overcome it. 9 out of 10 Australians don't think that favorably about insurance brokers at the moment. That's from a Roy Morgan job survey in 2017. And we know the Royal Commission probably didn't help either. So we do have an issue around customer sentiment that needs to be addressed. And that's where I think the power of customers' stories, of satisfied customers telling their stories through ratings and reviews, can be so powerful and something to be aware of. But we need to deal with this, don't we? We need to make sure we are trustworthy. We need to make sure that we're delivering well for customers. And so on Advisr, we enable people to leave reviews. And here is a review left by a customer. It's quite long. You can see that. It's the first thing. And this was left for Byron McPherson, a broker out of Melbourne. What's interesting when I think about this review, amongst all the reviews that we see coming through, is the language. If you look at who it focuses on the customer, doesn't it? My best interests, save me, the time he spent with me, best plans for my needs. I get great service. It's peace of mind. All those words are very customer-centric, about themselves. And that always makes sense, doesn't it? Customers love thinking about themselves first. We need to make sure that we're thinking that way too. And so if I was to read a review like this, I'd think, wow, this broker really looks out for their customers. And so we want to think, how do we cultivate and grow customer reviews? Have you got that as part of your process? Is that part of your sales process? Once you're working with a customer, do you ask them for that? When they're satisfied and when you've done something exceptional for them, is that part of the equation? Are you asking them and actively seeking those out? Now, not every customer you ask will leave a review. We get that. But if we never ask, then we'll never get the reviews. Interestingly, we have lots of brokers say to us, can we incorporate a link to our reviews in our email signature and the reviews on Advisr? And we say, of course you can. And that's an independent platform where customers can come to validate. Again, helping you at that point of decision where a customer is thinking through how and whether they should engage with you. So the minimum requirements in 2019, fully commit to digital. We get that, don't we? We just need to actually work out what that means and maybe take some steps. Understand that customers use search across multiple platforms in different ways and make sure that therefore we have a presence that will connect with them. You want to make sure that you have those profiles and all those major channels and are consistent with that. Yes, that takes time. Yes, that takes effort. And yes, it doesn't always return an immediate ROI to your business, but it is building that business asset and helping those customers who are looking for you. Because if you're not there, then you will definitely be missing out. And fourthly, the power of asking for and cultivating customer reviews needs to be part of your business process. If that's not part of your business process, let me encourage you that you definitely need to consider that and start adding that in. And so as we move towards the end of our time together, I just want you to think, how do you measure up against some of the areas that we've talked about thus far? And in particular, some of these minimum requirements. We're not even talking maximum requirements, we're talking the minimum requirements to think about. And if you need help on those or you want to talk further, then we're more than happy to do that. So as we wrap up, we've thought about our research before buying and how customers are doing that. We've seen that shift to mobile for business-related terms, and that customers really are using search in creative ways to find you. We've also thought about those old ways, that linear way of doing business versus those new ways. And I wonder if there's just one of those areas where you could make a start. You don't need to do them all. There can be a lot there and it can be a bit overwhelming, but is there one area where you could make a start? And thirdly, we've walked through some of the minimum requirements for doing business in 2019. And so as we finish our time together or open it up for questions, it'd be great now if anyone has any questions to put those forward, and we're more than happy to answer those. And as those are coming through, I want to encourage you to think about one key takeaway. What is the one key thing that you might think about or do as a result of spending this time together? We really appreciate that you've invested time thinking through how your customers are finding you and thinking of and searching for you with us today during our webinar, and we're really appreciative of that time. And so we just want to make sure that you actually get one key takeaway. And if you want to share that with me, I'd love to hear what that is, either via email or reach out in another way to let me know what's the one key takeaway, because otherwise we can just hear information and we get back on with our days. And sometimes it can feel like there's a lot of things to do. And so if there's just one key thing that you could do, then I'd encourage you to do that. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for your time. I think we have one question coming through just about Advisr and how that works. Yep, in regards to being an advertising platform. So Advisr has a couple of ways that it can work. Anyone can be on the platform for free, your brokerage or your individual profile. If you want to be promoted, and we call that Advisr Premium, then that moves you to the top of our homepage and the top of the category page, and the top of the location pages. And there's information on our website about the pricing models for that that you can find. And we'll share that with you as well, a link to that when we send out a copy of the slides. But I encourage you to do that. Participants that sign up or customers that sign up for an annual premium package on Advisr, which comes in for an individual at $999 a year, they get a guarantee of performance on that. So we make sure that you will achieve a certain number of GWP, a certain amount of GWP, $5,000 of GWP within the next 12 months. And we'll work with you to make sure that that happens. And so it definitely covers itself in that regards. Okay, well, I think that's all our questions for today. Look, it's been lovely spending so much time with you. I really do appreciate the time that people have invested. Feel free to reach out to me, andy@advisr.com.au. If there's any support that you need or any help or assistance you need, we have a dedicated support team, support@advisr.com.au, who can help you to navigate any of the complexities you might find on Advisr and help you to optimize your profiles. It's been great spending time thinking about how customers search for brokers, and I'll give you the gift of time and give you a few minutes back in your day. Thanks so much, everyone.